YouTube's doing now. Hello, YouTubers. How are you all doing today? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Woo, woo, woo. TikTok, actually, TikTok's ready to go live like now. Here we go. I already had TikTok set up. I was good today. Not always good. Actually, we're trying not to raise the voice today since I'm trying to help the scratchiness of my voice, which I'm not being very good about. All right. TikTok is live. There we go. So yes, we're going to try to realize that I do have a very expensive microphone. I don't need to be yelling and projecting into my microphone because it does it for me automatically. Hey, Joe, over on TikTok. Oh, hey, Nick. Hey, guys. So welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Appreciate everybody being here today. How are we all? What is today? Thursday? Woo-woo. End of the month already. Our temperature in Washington's been crazy. We've got like 60s for the next 10 days, which is insane. Like that doesn't happen here. It's very weird. Thank you, Jorge, for the gift. So very strange stuff. Thank you, Pingu. I'm guessing the country overall probably is getting, because I know Chicago's like crazy cold as well right now, which it shouldn't be. Anyway, thank you, Jean-Marc. Thank you, Heather. Thanks for the gifts, guys. Sorry, Michael. Yeesh. I'm sorry to hear that. But yes, so I had my physical yesterday, which I think everything's okay, but like, I think I'm dehydrated, which I've suspected before. Do you know how much water they want you to drink? I'm not even sure. I don't even remember what that is, Michael, other than I remember it's kind of a pain. Thank you for subscribing, Shannon. The amount of water you're supposed to drink is insane. Like I Googled it. I remember they say 8 cups and I asked ChatGPT to think about it for me. ChatGPT wanted me to do like 10 cups. Do you know what it's like to drink 10 cups of water? It's like your colonoscopy all over again. It's insane. Like and the thing is, we are going to do the show in a minute, but what the hell? I just had my physical. I tried today. I've had, I don't know, 5 or 6 cups. It's been a pain in the ass drinking. And by the way, there's no way I'm drinking that water at night. If I drink that water at night, I'm going to be peeing all night like an old man. Thank you, Adventures. Oh my God. Yeah, but it's like a cup an hour. Like if I'm doing it starting at 9 o'clock, going up to 5 o'clock in the evening, it's like a cup an hour. That's insane. Yeah, I think they're crazy. I mean, what do you do? But my God, I don't know how people drink water like this. You know? The thing is too, like I've noticed I can get heartburn from too much water as well. Like just like too much liquid can cause heartburn. Just crazy. Any case, I know. Well, I don't do enough fruits and vegetables, so that's part of the problem too. But my God. Anyway, I am trying to do more. I know I've got to talk to Parker again. I know. You guys have to remind me when I'm not on the show though. Like maybe Ash or one of the mods, Amanda or somebody. Amanda, I do know your name, Amanda. But maybe one of the mods can remind me later when I'm not on the show. I can send Parker a message. Thank you, Norway. Thank you, Tiptoe, for the gifts. Any case, yes. So I had a little shock with the water thing. I've been trying today, and I feel like a beached whale having this much water in me. It's just like, Anyway, thank you, Norway, for the tiny diny. Yeah, so welcome, guys. It is Thursday, May 22nd. John Aravosis here. I did change my TikTok profile. I put my catchphrase that I used to use for my blog, "A great nation deserves the truth." So it's there in my TikTok profile now. So woo, woo, woo. That's exciting. We love the dead goose. Relaxed goose. It's a dead goose. Thank you, Blue, for that. So welcome, guys. Yeah, so news. We're going to talk about the news today from Washington, D.C., the news from Ukraine. As always, I am John Aravosis. I'm in Washington, D.C. I've been doing this for a long time. I've lived here for 40 years, which is kind of unfortunate. 2 of those years were in New York, which was very fortunate. Other than the UN, we don't talk about that evil place. Thank you, Jen. Thank you, Elizabeth. But otherwise, I'm here in D.C. I do a lot of politics. I've worked in the media. So we thought it might be a good idea several years ago. Thank you, Gothic, Melanie, Jen, Elizabeth, several years ago to start a show, sort of walking you guys through the stories of the day, giving you my take. You may not agree, especially this first story. Guaranteed to be guaranteed to have a fight if we're talking about Israel and the Middle East. I mean, guaranteed people are going to get upset. It's okay, right? We're not crazy people. We're allowed to disagree. Callum and I have this discussion all the time. Thank you, Max. Thank you, Gothic Blue. But we're going to start with that story and then move on to the other ones. But in any case, let's get rolling. So welcome, everybody. I do ask if you can afford it. Your gifts are most welcome on TikTok and on YouTube, subscriptions, etc. Because I do this for a living. Your gifts help pay the bills. Also, come Saturday morning for the paid monthly subscribers on TikTok, YouTube, and Discord, I've got my Saturday morning show again for all the paid subscribers. That's 11 a.m. Eastern Time US on Saturday morning. You can join me on TikTok, YouTube, Discord. Basically anybody, well, on TikTok, it's anybody who's got SNN next to their name, like Jen. Who else do we have today? Maybe it's just a blue, some of the others. On YouTube, it's everybody with a green name, like Flying Medic. Discord, everybody with a name that's in color, like Amanda and Dave and Jeffrey. So audio on Discord is deteriorating. Actually, good question. Is anybody else's audio being evil on Discord, or is it just for a great looker? Because if it's not everybody, then you might want to leave and come back, close the app and come back. If it's everybody, it's funny because usually it's YouTube where the audio goes crazy. Thank you, Garden Girl. Anyway, we're just waiting to see if the audio is bad for everybody on TikTok. I mean, on Discord, and then we'll start with the news. I'm trying to drag this out. The news. Thank you, Maluda. All right, several people are typing. Audio's okay for Amanda. Audio okay. Then the problem is yours, great looker. I would suggest you leave and never come back. No, I suggest you leave, close the app entirely, like shut it down, open it up again, whether it's your phone or your computer. And then there's annoying white noise in the background for Dave. I mean, what's weird is that other people aren't getting it. I'm going to move my cord a little bit here. YouTubers, are you guys getting any background noise today or not for the audio? Except that it's working for the other two, so who knows? Anyway, nothing. As you guys know, there's nothing I can do about it. Yeah, see, and the audio's fine on YouTube. And YouTube and Discord get the same audio, so this is a Discord problem today. Sorry about that. TikTok always works. I will give TikTok credit. TikTok usually works really well. Really, usually it's white noise today. Interesting. Okay. In any case, let's get rolling. All right. So first big story. Thank you, Garden Girl, for the chatting popcorn. Thank you, guys. So actually, I could always turn my mic down a little too. I don't know if I don't want to turn the mic. Now, normally I would have my mic set here, but previously I remember sometimes people thought it wasn't loud enough. Okay, I swear to God, we're going to do the news in like 2 seconds. I just turned the mic down. Let's see if that's any better. Or if it's really bad for people, I'll go back up again. In any case, it got louder. Okay, I give up. I completely give up. Oh, you've been having problems with other. Okay, then this may be a TikTok problem. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, nothing we can do about it, guys. All right. Actually, you know what? One last thing. I'm going to unplug and replug on TikTok. Now we're done. So the big story today, many stories, but one of the big stories today was the terrorist attack in Washington, D.C. last night. And yes, it was a terrorist attack. I know people are sympathetic to Gaza. I get it. But the definition of terrorism is basically when you use violence in order to influence politics. Now, I will say, I had looked into this one several years ago, and there is not, interestingly enough, there is not a unified U.S. government definition of terrorism, which is kind of interesting. I had looked around and literally like Library of Congress had a definition. FBI had a definition. Department of Justice had a definition. Homeland Security had a definition. All the definitions, like each of them had a definition of terrorism. Each one was different, which was fascinating and kind of crazy too. Like you'd think the U.S. government would have one position, right? It is terrorism when you commit violence in order to try to influence politics. That is the definition of terrorism. This was absolute, and especially it gets even more so when government officials are involved and things like that. Basically, 2 employees at the Israeli embassy, they weren't, and here's the thing too, they weren't even diplomats. You know, these were 2 young people, basically. A guy, neither of them was diplomats. Both of them basically were private citizens working for the embassy. One was an American who was working in the public affairs section, which embassies will often do that here in Washington. Americans can go work in the public outreach section. The other was a German guy who had become a naturalized Israeli or was naturalizing. I don't know which, but he was a German who moved to Israel, was in the military, all of that. And they were employees of the Israeli embassy. They were not diplomats. They were coming out of an event at a Jewish community center here in Washington, D.C., and this guy from Chicago, Palestinian activist, killed them, like shot both of them dead on the street. They were both in their mid to late 20s. They were getting engaged next week. The woman did not know. The guy had just bought a ring for the girlfriend. They were going to get engaged, and he shot them dead. Police grabbed him. He started screaming, "Free Palestine." He also told the police where the gun was. This is why, again, alleged killer. We're supposed to call him an alleged killer until someone's convicted. But the police arrested him because he confessed and then said the gun's over there in the corner and the gun was over there. I will say also, living in Washington, really weird, because this stuff, I said on my video last night on TikTok, I was like, yeah, we have shootings all the time in America. That's like America. We don't have like political killings. That's a little weird. We're a violent country, but this kind of stuff is pretty weird. Like acts of terror, killing diplomats, killing foreign government officials. That doesn't really happen here. It doesn't happen in Washington. It's very rare. It's very rare. So that's also a little weird. I had heard last night people were already trying to compare this guy to Luigi. If we want to have a really controversial discussion, we can bring Luigi in too, because I'm not a big fan of Luigi. We've talked about that. I think, you're in a very dangerous position if you think we should be killing government officials or even worse, business leaders in our own country. I think that's it is a slippery slope. Like the Luigi stuff we talked about, the idea of killing corporate CEOs. By the way, not killing a corporate CEO because they did something, right? Think of the Luigi thing. This is why the Luigi thing, I think he's crazy too. He didn't kill the head of the insurance company because the insurance company cut off his medicine or killed his mother or something. He killed the head of the insurance company because insurance companies are bad. Healthcare in America is bad. It was a really screwed up, I'm sorry, but I'll say it. It was a really screwed up reason. Now, I'm not arguing that there's a good reason to kill, like that there is a good reason to kill insurance CEOs. I don't think there is, but his reason was really bad. There's no, as Janice said, there's no good reason, but I would say sometimes you can have even shittier reasons than others. And for Luigi, had he said, this guy killed my mother, took away her medicine, that would have at least explained why he did it, even if we're not going to justify it. But he literally did it because insurance companies are bad. And like, dude, I got news for you. Amazon can be bad too sometimes, right? Insurance companies can be bad. Like lots of companies can be bad. That doesn't mean you kill people. That's just is not what you do. And I feel the same way with this, especially, and again, I'm not going to like justify violence, but you picked two random people, a guy and his girlfriend who have nothing. And by the way, the girlfriend at least seems, she was like a big proponent of peace between the Palestinians and the Israelis. She was like involved in that whole movement, that was killed last night. I'm not convinced when assassinations are okay. Again, it's actually a little more complicated than that. Thank you, Visionary. It does get a little more complicated than that, right? Because sometimes, again, we got to be careful talking about these topics, obviously, with TikTok. TikTok gets a little sensitive, but, taking out terrorist leaders, okay. I would be okay with taking out a terrorist leader, right? We went and we took out Osama bin Laden. I'm okay with that, right? So obviously you have to get into some definitions and things here. But, going and killing two random people working for the Israeli embassy, I'm sorry, that's terrorism, and it doesn't matter what you say Israel has done. You don't kill random people. And again, you kill them randomly because they're Jews or they're Israelis or even working for the Israeli embassy. It's not a good thing. I would also say politically, because one of the things that I'm a big fan of is talking about the political impact of your actions. And I've talked about you guys about this before. Forget putting aside the moral question or the ethical question even. There's also a simple fact of what I always say in politics, which is your activism better be tailored towards achieving a goal. And is this activism this guy did last night going to help the Palestinians? There's no way it's going to help them. It's not. It's not. It's going to make things worse. The Israelis are going to be crazier. We already saw the Israeli ambassador today was like foaming at the mouth, crazy. I mean, it was honestly, yeah. And you guys know, I've got some sympathies towards Israel. The Israeli ambassador today was over the top. They're going to be insane as a result of this. And if you don't think things could get worse, they can get worse. They can definitely get worse. He made things worse. He did not help. Even if, and I'm obviously not sympathetic, even if you're sympathetic, this did not help. And we can kind of move on from this now. But as I've said, in politics, when you do things in politics, you need to make sure that what you're doing helps advance your cause. And it doesn't advance your cause because it feels good. Oh, sorry, Boomer. What happened was a Palestinian, let me rephrase this, a Chicagoan who has embraced the Palestinian cause. Because when you say Palestinian activist, it makes it sound like he's a Palestinian. It looks like he's a Latino. His name was like Elias Rodriguez or something. It looks like he's a Latino from Chicago, American. But he's been involved in a lot of social justice causes, worked for a Black organization, worked a lot of the Palestinian protests. He worked with some socialist group several years ago. He hasn't been with them for like 8 years. But he's a liberal, I would say, kind of a liberal activist, but a street activist maybe is a better word for it. Like with the Answer campaign, which are really kind of very liberal street activist types. He was protesting Rahm Emanuel's house, who was the mayor of Chicago. He protested Rahm Emanuel's house with a group because they were bringing one of Amazon's headquarters to Chicago. Doesn't make, I mean, I disagree, but I guess my point here is he didn't necessarily come across crazy, which is interesting. Hey, Pindos, good to see you. Right? I mean, he was a liberal activist, but his history wasn't really crazy. Like I said, protesting Amazon. Okay, right? I mean, whatever, right? I mean, thank you, Mike. I might disagree with you on protesting Amazon, but it doesn't make it crazy to protest Amazon. Even on the Palestinian stuff, they're pulling up some of his quotes, accusing Israel of genocide and stuff. Well, I may not agree that what Israel is doing is genocide, but it's not crazy for you to allege that, right? Like we may disagree, but I can see why you might say that, even if I disagree, right? And at least what we've seen so far with what this guy has put out there in terms of his writings. Thank you, PG. Thank you, user 336. Thank you, Mike, for the sunglasses. What we've seen so far with his writings, I've not seen anything to suggest he's crazy, which is interesting. Now, I think there is a certain craziness that you gotta have if you start opening fire on, especially he's not Palestinian. From what we know, he's not Palestinian. This gets us back to Luigi again, right? It's not like it's his family that we know of. From what we know, he's Latino, right? He's not Palestinian. So his family isn't getting attacked in Gaza. His family isn't getting killed. He hasn't lost people from what we know. But as a simple liberal activist on a cause that isn't even his, he decided to go and commit some assassinations. This is like the Luigi thing. Actually, it's just like the Luigi thing, actually, because like I talked about with Luigi, he didn't go after the insurance executive because the insurance executive had done something to him. He went after insurance executives because overall he doesn't like insurance executives. He doesn't like insurance companies. To me, that's a little crazier. I think that's a little crazy. I do. I think just because you're a street justice person or whatever doesn't make you crazy and doesn't make you violent. Anyway, thank you, Polly. So it's a weird story. It's a weird story. Yeah, that's exactly, Amanda. That's what I was saying. There's no personal angle here that might have motivated him. It's yeah. Well, I mean, yes, Oklahoma, he's innocent until proven guilty, but he also kind of confessed. So, yes, he is innocent until proven guilty. But anyway, Anyway. All right. So very nasty story last night. Another nasty story, unrelated. Donald Trump is still trying to destroy Harvard University. This is just boggles my mind. Trump today, as you know, Trump is trying to destroy Harvard. He's overall trying to destroy liberal universities he considers. He's trying to destroy anything Democrat. For example, he's going after electric vehicle subsidies, getting rid of them now. They benefit a lot of Democratic states, especially. Thank you, Michael. Trump is killing them because they benefit Democratic states. Well, now he's trying to kill Harvard. Literally, he's trying to destroy the university. He's taken back billions of dollars of money that was going to them for research and stuff. He is threatening their tax status. He pretty much ordered the Internal Revenue Service illegally to take away Harvard's tax-exempt status, which would be horrifically expensive. Today, he banned Harvard from having foreign students. Okay? Banned Harvard from having foreign students. 10,000 foreign students now cannot go to Harvard from what Trump did. He's trying to destroy the university. He's trying to destroy it. It is not just un-American, it's anti-American. And this is the problem with Trump. It's also the problem, unfortunately, with his movement. There is a lack of respect for intelligence and expertise. There's a lack of respect for science. And I would say not only do they not care that they're destroying America's top universities, they think it's a good thing to destroy America's top universities. It's pretty scary stuff. And so now and by the way, there's also an added problem here. Trump just killed the admission or the attendance of 10,000 foreign students at Harvard. 10,000, right? They can't go to Harvard anymore now. What does that do? What does that do? Oh, you got him. You got him. My mods are so good. Thank you, Ash. 10,000 foreign students cannot go to Harvard now. Now, they're going to sue. Maybe they'll win. Let's find out. But we're telling foreigners not to come to America anymore. We're telling them that if you come here as a researcher, we're going to obliterate you at the border. We're going to open your phone. We're going to open your computers. We're going to go through all your text messages. We may arrest you for 2 months like we did to the researcher that we pretty much kidnapped at the border for several months. And she's one of the top cancer researchers in America. And we threw her in jail. We're telling people not to come here to work if they're foreigners. We're telling them not to come here to study if they're foreigners. Got news for you. Foreigners coming to America bring a lot of money. They bring a lot of intelligence, expertise. I mean, I don't even need to explain this. Thank you, Michael, for the sunglasses. They don't just bring money like the tourists and stuff. They bring business, right? Business people. They bring, as I say, sort of the intelligence. I probably shouldn't even need to explain. Do we want the smartest and brightest people in the world going to study in France, or would you rather have them come and study in America, right? If they come and study in America, forget that they're bringing money and stuff, but they might continue to have a connection with us. They're going to like us. I know this from studying in France. I studied in France. I will always have a part in my heart for France. Paris is home to me in some ways, right? Or it's one of my homes. I feel like Paris, which is kind of cool. Thank you, Mario, for the gift. We want people to come to America. We want, it's called soft power. We want people to like America. And what happens is Mackenzie says, how can he force a university not to accept foreign students? Well, who gave the galaxy there? Thank you, Succeed. I did not know this. It looks like apparently the Department of Homeland Security has to give like a certification or something for universities to be able to accept foreign students. I don't get it, but that's how it works. So Christy Nome, the one with the eyelashes and the hair extensions, she sent Harvard a letter and revoked their ability to have foreign students. So yeah, it's universities have to receive some. I can ask. Let me ask ChatGPT exactly what the what the process is. Hold on a second here. How is Trump able to revoke Harvard University's ability to accept foreign students, period? What is the U.S. government's role in a university being able to accept foreign students? Okay, let's see here. I like when ChatGPT sucks up to me. Great question. Trump or any president cannot unilaterally revoke a university's ability to accept foreign students. However, the federal government does control the mechanism. To admit foreign students on F1 academic or vocational visas, U.S. schools must be certified by the Student and Exchange Visitors Program managed by the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, a component of the Department of Homeland Security's. SEVP certification is required for any U.S. school to enroll international students who need a visa. Schools must maintain compliance with federal regulations, student tracking, record-keeping, course loads. If the school loses their certification, it cannot issue the I-20 forms that students need to apply for student visas. Okay, so that's what's going on. That's what's going on. What was he doing? In 2020, during Trump's presidency, his administration tried to deny visas to foreign students whose classes were fully online due to COVID. This would have effectively blocked schools like Harvard from keeping international students enrolled remotely. He's so weird. Anyway, so yeah, there's some, which I guess it does kind of make sense that the students have got to get visas to come here, and it seems that the university is kind of responsible. It's complicated, but they can take away their ability to do that. Yeah. He's doing it because he thinks these universities are democratic powerhouses. They're teaching kids to be liberal and to care about civil rights and stuff. Harvard is a private, this is America. This is not the Soviet Union. Harvard, we do not have a government that's communist. Harvard is allowed to teach whatever it wants to teach as a private university. It's none of Donald Trump's business. It's none of the U.S. government's business. Republicans used to understand that. The notion that someone has to explain to Republican officials in Washington that it's not the government's business telling schools, private universities what to teach, or private businesses how to run their business, which Trump is also doing. Right? He's trying to punish private businesses that have like civil rights protections and things. It is in America, in a capitalist system, in a country that is not communist, we do not tell businesses how to run their business in that way. We do not tell universities how to teach their students in that way. It's pretty screwed up. But they're trying to destroy Harvard. And again, they're destroying our country. And that's the thing that and again, you extrapolate this to science, you extrapolate it to COVID, you extrapolate it to vaccines, right? You extrapolate it on electric vehicles and all the stuff that Trump and the Republicans are cutting now. They're cutting all the funding for climate programs. That got cut last night in the legislation we're going to talk about. They cut climate programs. We're going backwards on everything. We're going backwards on our alliances, on NATO, on defending our allies, on standing up to our enemies. I just don't, it boggles my mind how, and I've said this before, it's almost as if someone else is running the show in Washington. It's every time, not every time, but a lot of times I see Trump do something. It feels as if, I sit there and I go, I can't believe an American president is doing this. He's hurting America. It's almost as if Vladimir Putin is making these decisions, or Xi Jinping in China, right? It's the kind of thing where if you're Putin, you would want us to do what Trump is doing because it hurts America with NATO. It hurts America getting foreign students. It hurts America getting foreign business people. It's really scary. It's really scary. It's un-American. And it's dangerous. And it's like I said, it's not just un-American, it's anti-American. It hurts our country. It's just, anyway, it boggles my mind. So yes, Republicans in the U.S. House of Representatives passed a massive it was a tax cut bill, but other legislation. Basically, the Republicans are taking healthcare away from poor people. They're cutting climate change programs. They're cutting food programs for poor people. They're cutting student loan forgiveness in order to pay for tax cuts that predominantly go to rich people. And that's what they're, and they're going to add, the latest number is, thank you, Marcia. Thank you, Jocelyn. The latest number is Republicans are going to add $2.7 trillion to the deficit, not just deficit, to the national debt. We've got like 30 some trillion dollars. They're going to add $2.7 trillion to the national debt with their program. This is why the bond market's freaking out. This is why the stock market's freaking out. It's, yeah. And again, like I just, I mean, we're in so much debt right now. We shouldn't be, we should not be spending money unless we have to. And they're so crazy on their tax cut stuff. It's just, oh man. Finland is not in a state of alert because the Russians are not amassing troops on their border, Polams. You might want to be careful because you are this close to being banned from here because that isn't true. That's like Russian propaganda. The Russians are building some facilities along Finland's border in preparation for years from now when the war in Ukraine is over. Then the Russians may want to put increased troops and increased weapons on the border with Finland in order to scare Finland and scare the Europeans. But Russians are not putting a single soldier additional on the Finnish border. They're not. And they're not putting, it's not. No, they're not. They're not. They're saying that's not what the story was. The story is that the Russians are building facilities on the border with Finland. They're empty and they're trying to scare the Finns. And they're also trying to prepare for when the war in Ukraine is over so that they can threaten Finland. That is true. But it's not as scary as that. Not yet. Anyway, what else we got here? This was good news. A federal judge on Thursday blocked Trump's executive order aimed at dismantling the education department. He ordered federal officials to reinstate thousands of fired employees at the Department of Education. The only thing is, thank you, Crazy. Thank you, Marsha. Thank you, Autumn. This is a temporary reprieve. It's basically like a temporary restraining order or preliminary injunction, which means pending the court case that's now going on, Trump is not allowed to fire anybody. Everybody gets their job back. It doesn't mean this is the end of the court case. It means while we're adjudicating this, you can't fire anybody, and the people you did fire get their jobs back. So that's at least good news. Thank you, Polly. Thank you, Crazy. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Randy. It also could go to a higher court, an appellate court, that rules this court's wrong, and Trump can fire everybody. Who knows? So a little more here. Romania. This is good news, too. Romania's top court rejected far-right kind of fascist candidate bid to annul the presidential elections. Romania, fortunately, had elections on Sunday, and they picked somebody who was pro-Europe, not the fascist party, the sort of neo-fascist, neo-Soviet party, which ironically is the same thing in Europe. Thank you, Marsha. I think they are. I think there's elements of fascism. There's elements of Soviet sort of doctrine in the sort of Russia today. Thank you, Marsha. Thank you, Tara and Bowie. Any case, the guy who lost was the neo-fascist. And he tried to claim the election was stolen. Foreigners, the French stole the election. And the court that makes such rulings said, no, they didn't. Bye. So he's toast. So that was good. We'll move on to Ukraine. Thank you, Bowie. Thank you, Randy Fred. Thank you, Bryce. Thank you, Masha. We can move on to Ukraine next, unless people have any kind of little quick comment or anything on this. There was some tax cut for tanning beds. Yes, Vince. I didn't see if they either cut it or they kept it in. I literally read something today about the tax cut for tanning beds, but that was actually put in there years ago by the Speaker of the House. Remember who was the guy, John Boehner, who used to always get tans? So is it in? Michelle says it's in. Okay. I read it earlier, and the way I read it, I wasn't sure if they had taken it out. Thank you, Aileen, for the gift. Anyway, all right, let's move on and do a little bit of Ukraine. So today is day 1,183 of Vladimir Putin's special 3-day military operation in Ukraine. Trump said on Monday, the story just broke today because the Europeans went public. Trump told European leaders on Monday that Vladimir Putin does not want peace because he thinks he's winning in Ukraine. What is interesting about this story is then why hasn't Donald Trump put additional sanctions on Putin, which a week ago he promised to do? Week and a half ago, Sunday, Trump promised, thank you, Cricket. Trump, did I get your name right? I'm guessing, but okay. I'm glad I got it right, Aileen. I mean, it looks like an Aileen. Trump, a week ago, Sunday, said thank you for the cat pause. If Russia doesn't agree to a 30-day ceasefire, we are going to put additional sanctions on them, crippling sanctions. The Europeans agreed with Trump. So they came out of a meeting. Both of them promised this. The next day, Putin says, I don't want to do 30-day sanctions. How about we just do a meeting with Zelensky and me instead to negotiate like peace? And Trump goes, okay. So Trump caves on his demand for a 30-day, sorry, my nose is itching, caves on his demand for a 30-day ceasefire, and instead says, okay, Putin says he's willing to have a one-on-one meeting with Zelensky. I like that. And you know what? I don't totally disagree with Trump on this, right? If the Russians say, look, we're willing to sit down with Zelensky and discuss peace, I might be willing to say, okay, I'll hold off on the sanctions, additional sanctions. So Trump holds off. We head towards 5 days from that day, because Putin says in 5 days I'll meet Zelensky. And Putin freaks out and goes, I don't want to meet Zelensky. And Putin freaks out and goes, I don't want my foreign minister to meet Zelensky. So Putin basically Putin basically goes back on his promise, sends these lower level officials, thank you, Maddie, for the corgi, send some lower level officials to meet Zelensky and refuse to even negotiate and make these ridiculous demands that the Ukrainians should give up land that Russia hasn't even conquered. Like Ukrainian land that, Ukraine, the Russians are demanding Ukraine give up even more land to the Russians in order for peace. So what happens? We're sitting there going, okay, so Trump said he was going to put sanctions on Russia if they didn't agree to a ceasefire. Russia didn't agree to a ceasefire. They did not. Trump did not put sanctions. Russia said they would meet with Zelensky. So Trump said, okay, I'll hold off on sanctions until I see if you meet with Zelensky. Putin then refuses to meet with Zelensky. Now Trump is saying he's determined that the Russians don't want peace. They're not interested in negotiating and whatever. Okay, then where are the sanctions? Where are the sanctions, right? What happened? No sanctions. Nope. Trump lied. Well, if he worse than lied, he flip-flopped. If you're China, you're watching this and going, yes. When Donald Trump makes a promise, it means nothing. When Donald Trump threatens to use, the economic might of America to stop you, it means nothing. He promised to go after Putin and put sanctions if Putin didn't agree to a ceasefire. Putin refused, and Trump blinked. It is a very dangerous world in which the president of the United States is weak, in which the president of the United States folds. He's a chump, in which he is scared of standing up to foreign leaders, and when his word means nothing, because we are worried about China. We're worried about China in the next 4 years to 8 years, going to war with China over Taiwan. We want the Chinese to believe the word of the president of the United States when he says, don't you dare invade, because we'll make you pay for it. Well, if it's Trump, now we know his word means nothing. Maybe he'll make you pay for it. Maybe he won't. He vowed to make Putin pay for it a week ago. It took 1 day for Trump to cave to Putin. And now, as I said, Trump is talking about just leaving, right? Thank you, Kim. Trump is talking about just leaving Ukraine. Which will turn Ukraine into Trump's Afghanistan. Afghanistan was Trump's Afghanistan, by the way, too. We've talked about that. Joe Biden pulled out of Afghanistan because Donald Trump made him. Donald Trump negotiated the treaty. It wasn't a treaty, but the agreement for the U.S. to pull out of Afghanistan. That was Donald Trump's doing. Donald Trump pulled 2/3 of American troops out of Afghanistan. Joe Biden pulled 1/3. Trump had already pulled 2/3. Biden finished pulling out the troops because of Trump's agreement, because he didn't have a choice. Trump even complained at one point that he was concerned Biden was removing the troops too slowly, right? Because how everyone blames Biden for removing the troops. Trump publicly complained in April of 2021. Trump publicly complained that Biden was going a little slow. He needs to make sure he doesn't slow down. This is going to become Trump's Afghanistan. Thank you, running Trump's second Afghanistan. Thank you, Mother, for the rose. It's very bad. It's very bad. What else we have here? There were mass Ukrainian drone strikes on targets in Moscow. All 4 Russian airports in Moscow shut down, as well as airports in other cities. That's good. Putin, I'm not sure what he means by this. Putin claims, thank you, running. Keep the gifts coming, guys. I do this for a living. Your gifts pay the bills, so please do keep them coming. And remember, subscribers, we're doing a show Saturday morning, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, U.S. So if you join us, if you become a subscriber now, you can join us on the Saturday morning show, TikTok, YouTube, Discord. The Russians are claiming, Putin claimed today that he ordered the Russian military to begin creating a security buffer zone along the border with Ukraine. Now, he's doing it. Where did I put my map? I put my map somewhere else. We'll get my map another day. He's doing it along the area that Ukraine had invaded, basically Kursk, which is the region Ukraine had taken over, or part of the region. Belgorod, which is another region in northeast of Ukraine that the Ukrainians keep jumping in. Putin is talking about basically putting I think probably troops, probably trenches, what do they call them? Dragon's teeth, stuff that stop tanks. I think he's talking about putting like a big sort of, cordon or something to basically stop the Ukrainians from coming in, but didn't get into really any details. Thank you, Julie, for the gifts. Right. Minefields, things like, exactly, Robert, things like that. This was interesting. I don't know what to make of this, but it's interesting. This was from the Kyiv Independent. Ukraine is requesting the European Union to begin financially supporting the Ukrainian armed forces starting in 2026. The European Union has not so far directly funded Ukraine's military. Member states provide weapons and other assistance. Under the proposal, the cost of supporting Ukraine's military would represent only a small fraction of the EU's combined GDP. So basically, the Ukrainians are asking for assistance to actually support the Ukrainian military. I don't know. I'm not quite sure what that's about. They may need the assistance, right? Weapons are great, but you also need money to pay your troops and all of that. So I don't know. Just sort of mentioning it because the Ukrainians talked about it today. Finally, Ukraine has brought 9 more children back from Russian-occupied territories. As you know, the Russians have kidnapped potentially tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, by some estimates, of Ukrainian children. Part of the Russian plan when they invaded Ukraine back in 2022 was to kidnap Ukrainian children and turn them into Russians. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Putin has been indicted for war. Don't take my word for it. The International Criminal Court has indicted Putin for war crimes. There's an arrest warrant out for Putin because of his ongoing abduction of Ukrainian children. They're literally kidnapping Ukrainian children, Ukrainian babies, and trying to raise them as Russians. It's crazy. Well, 9 of the children they were able to get back. Among the rescued children is a girl whose life was in danger due to the lack of adequate medical care, and a boy who, along with his mother, was locked in a basement by Russian forces while his father was tortured in a nearby room. Nasty. Nasty, nasty, nasty. Thank you, Larissa. That is it for the news. Let's hang and talk. All right. Oops. This is the part of the show we then hang out. So anyway, hello all. How are we doing this evening? Talk about whatever you want to talk about. I'm going to yawn at you a little bit. Okay. A little bit of a yawn. Bass Panda, if I talked about Israel's war crimes, I'd have to talk about the Palestinians' war crimes. And I think you'd get very upset about that. The 50 plus years, 70, 60, 70 plus years of Palestinians murdering children with bombs on airplanes and boats. So both sides have done bad things. In the law, we call it unclean hands. The Palestinians and the Israelis both have unclean hands. The problem is, I think some people today either have short memories or they don't know their history, and they don't know that before the Israelis did lots of bad things the last 20 years, the Palestinians did lots of bad things the 50 years, 60 years before that. And there's a reason Israel does what it does because of what the Palestinians. Now, at the same time, the Palestinians were doing bad things. The Israelis were doing bad things too. But there is a short side. I don't even know if it's a short-sightedness. I think I don't know if it's selective memory. I think if you're young and just started paying attention to the last 20 years because you're in your 20s or 30s or 40s or whatever, you're not old enough to have watched the stuff I did. I watched the Palestinians hijack cruise ships, shoot old men in the head. A guy in a wheelchair, Leon Klinghoffer, shot him in the head and threw him overboard in his wheelchair. Some guy in his 70s. I watched the Palestinians try to blow up airplanes full of civilians. like every airplanes. They would do horrific terrorist, but the Israelis did bad things too. I mean, again, both sides did. But I think today people don't understand that this government is, I do not like Netanyahu. Sharon before him was an idiot as well, in my opinion. Oh my God, the Olympics. I forgot about that. Yoga, but just the Olympics. The Palestinians went and kidnapped the entire Israeli Olympic team and assassinated all of their Olympic athletes in Munich in 1972. There is a long history of horrific Palestinian mass murder. But guess what? Israel's done bad things too. And my show, you're going to hear about both sides. You know, Israel's living on stolen land. I got news for you. Jews were there 3,000 years ago. We're going to play that game, right? I mean, that's what I mean. Those kind of arguments get you nowhere. Those are stupid arguments in my view, right? You're going to argue about who was here first. Well, guess what? The Native Americans were on stolen land too. So do you think America's going to get up and leave? I mean, what does that argument mean, right? And the Jews were there 3,000 years ago. So we're going to play that game? I mean, I don't think you want to play that game. The United Nations gave Israel that land. I'm not going to accept this argument of, oh, the Israelis, the United Nations gave them that land. By the way, we're kind of forgetting. Again, I am sympathetic to both sides, but you're kind of playing a cute game when you go, Israel stole land. No, the United Nations gave Israel the land. Second of all, kind of ignoring the reason the United Nations gave Israel that land, or I should say the Jews, because we tried to wipe them out, right? 2/3 of Europe's Jews were murdered in the Holocaust. 2/3. Imagine 2/3 of the Germans being, or 2/3 of the Greeks, or 2/3 of the French being wiped out. 2/3 of the Jews were murdered. It was around 1/5 of the world's Jews. 20%, I believe, was the number, were killed. Imagine 20% of your ethnicity, 20% of Catholics, 20% of Muslims being killed. Okay? We don't like to talk about that when we talk about why Israel was created. There's a very good reason Israel was created. This topic is a topic where both sides have got, as I said, in the law, we call it unclean hands. I think both sides have unclean hands. Both sides, certainly Israel in the last 20 years has done a lot of bad stuff. And the Palestinians for the 60 years before that did a lot of bad stuff too. And the stuff that this guy did last night, some of you think it's justifiable that he went and murdered Israeli embassy officials. Some of us remember this is the kind of stuff they've been doing for 80 years. So, you know, it goes both ways. Dog wants some water. Why don't you all stew amongst yourselves for a minute while I give the dog some water? So there. See? I told you. I hate discussing this topic. It just gets people to be obnoxious. Very few people want the truth. Very few people are willing to admit that this topic is complicated, that both sides, both parties to this topic have got dirt on their hands. Very few people want to admit that. Oh well. I like that Cliff guy was spamming, but he was trying to spam with something to put some subtle message, but it was so subtle you couldn't read it. Sorry, it's just funny. Somebody did a little spam message on TikTok, but they were trying to do some weird thing where they were typing a word with symbols, emojis, but it was so weird you couldn't read it. Oh, was that what it was? It was trying to promote Trump's crypto? That's funny, but I couldn't read it. I was like, you might want to do a little better. Thank you, Dawn. In any case. No, this stuff is complicated. And that's one of the things I've learned working in politics all these years. Things tend to be pretty complicated. You know, a lot of disputes are, sometimes they're not, but on this one, the Middle East, if you don't think the Middle East is complicated, you're not paying attention and you haven't really read up on it. You know, anyway, yes, Harvey, you're back. You joined what do you do? It was a big topic today. We had to talk about it. You know what I mean? What do you do? So, but everything though, that's DJ's talking about the British mandate in Palestine. That's what I mean. Like it is a very complicated topic that even goes before the 1940s with the creation of Israel. It goes back decades before, but also it goes back a couple thousand years too of the world killing Jews. I mean, if you really want to get into it, guess who's been oppressed for 3,000 years? Jews. So, would I support a world government? Oh, God, no. God, no. You think I want a bunch of crazy people like the United Nations telling my country what to do? My experience working at the United Nations showed me a lot of people from around the world are corrupt as hell. I mean, our government has its own problems now, obviously, huge problems. Thank you, Deb. Thank you, Randy Fred. But in a million years, actually, Vlad is, my nephew had just seen Vlad, or not seen him, but had just was like videoing, because he videoed Vlad when I was with him in Italy. We were doing a video call with Vlad. He's good. I have not actually heard in the last, I got to check. I mean, I know he's okay, but I've not checked on how he's doing. Our friend Vlad from Ukraine. But I know he's okay because Anthony would tell me otherwise. So Dev, you can always ask a question. Doesn't mean I'm going to answer it, but you can ask. you can always ask. Yeah, just go ahead. Maybe I'll answer. I mean, anyway, but yeah, world government, blah, blah. Oh, different Vlad. Hi, Vlad. Elliot, you're a different Vlad, but nice to see you, Vladislav Paley, as well. This is my friend, a different Vladislav, who's a good friend of ours for the show going back a while now. Cool girl. I did cover, we just had a big fight about it a couple minutes ago, actually, about the shooting in Washington last night. Yes, we did. What else? The budget in the Senate. I mean, I think, actually, that's funny. Alyssa goes, can I ask a question is a question. So it's self-referential. That's a good point though. You're right. The budget bill, they're going to pass something in the Senate. They may cut even more programs. Maybe they'll cut some of the tax stuff back a little bit, but nothing's going on in Finland, Ralski. The Russian, I mean, there is, but nothing. I think some extremists I think it's the Russians that are trying to build fear. Nothing's going on. I mean, not nothing, but nothing. The Russians are building facilities along the Finnish border. They're not putting troops. They're not putting equipment. They're not putting tanks. They're not putting guns. By the way, the Russians don't have any tanks or guns or people left to put on anybody else's border because they're in trouble in Ukraine. But they are trying to build more facilities so that eventually they can move troops and move equipment to the Finnish border once the war in Ukraine's over, basically to threaten NATO. Yeah. But right now, no. Exactly what Michael said. They're building infrastructure. Exactly. Dylan, it depends. Dylan says, do you think the next president in 2028 will pressure Putin and help Ukraine? If he's a Democrat, he will. If he's a Republican, he may not. I mean, this is the problem with our politics right now. It's screwed up. I mean, I'm worried about whether the next president will even support America's allies, right? Whether the next president will be in the pocket of foreign dictators, whether the next president will take bribes from Arab governments. And, so if another Trump Republican wins, Putin will be very happy at the very least. Yeah. I think it's exactly, what it is. It's exactly what you fear, right? I don't know if I support a third party being formed because those things don't tend to work in America. Third parties just get one of the other main parties elected. So if the third party is a branch of Republicans, it helps Democrats. If the third party is a branch of, if the third party were some socialist party, it would help Republicans because it would take votes away from Democrats. So America is not a parliamentary system. So it doesn't really, maybe someday, I don't know, but not parliamentary system, but a third party, but it just doesn't really, ranked choice voting is fascinating. Thank you, Bren Ryan. Ranked choice voting is very interesting. I don't know enough about it. Hey, Bjorn in Sweden. I don't know enough about it to know how good it is. The idea is, from what I understand, and I don't even understand how it plays out, but you put down like your first choice and your second choice and your third choice. I'm trying to remember. I don't quite remember why. I don't quite remember. Is it like if there's no 50%, I don't know. I don't remember how it works. Like I could ask ChatGPT, I guess, but it's this whole thing of putting down like multiple choices. If one party doesn't get in, it trickles down to your next preference. But even that's confusing though, because I still don't understand how it works. Yeah. So I don't know. We did talk about Harvard. Yep. Trump is trying to kick all the foreign students out of Harvard. If your first choice doesn't hit 50%, right, then what happens? Yeah. Well, because I'm trying to think, like part of the, I think part of the theory with ranked choice is, especially if you, again, we have a two-party system. If you've got a multi-party system, you could have only 25% vote for one guy and the other 75% have voted for other people. But that 25% is ahead because he got 25%. I may ask ChatGPT. Let me ask ChatGPT to give an example of how it actually works. The lowest ranked candidates get counted by their second choice. See, I still don't understand what that means. I mean, I understand what you're right. I just don't understand what that literally means in practice. How does ranked choice voting work, give me an example of like counting with ranked choice voting, like a hypothetical election. All right, let's see what it says. I know none of your words make sense to me. Majority percentage. I just don't know what that means in terms of this. Each voter ranks the candidates on the ballot in order of preference. Right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. First choice count. All the first choice votes are counted first. So you literally, let's say there's 5 candidates running for president, or I don't know what the hell it is, and you list them in order. The first vote is counted for everybody. Number 1 is counted for everybody. If a candidate receives more than 50% of the first choice votes, they win outright, more than 50%. If no candidate achieves a 50% majority, the candidate with the fewest first choice votes is eliminated. Okay. Oh, interesting. Okay. So the candidate with the fewest first choice votes is eliminated. Voters who selected the eliminated candidate as their first choice have their votes transferred to the next. Oh, I see. Oh, interesting. So, okay. Let's pick Donald Duck, Mickey Mouse. Let's just pick Mickey Mouse. I'm trying to pick like a candidate who's not going to win, right? Mickey Mouse. It's Donald Trump, Joe Biden, a couple other people, and Mickey Mouse running for president. I pick Joe Biden, you pick Donald Trump, right? Only a couple people pick Mickey Mouse. They tally it up, and the bottom of the list is Mickey Mouse, right? Mickey Mouse got the fewest votes, throws it out. If you put Mickey Mouse as your first choice, Mickey Mouse has already been thrown out because he had the lowest number of votes. Now we go to your second choice. Now, anybody, from what I understand here, anybody who had a first choice that's still in the race, their first choice still counts. So all the Biden votes still count, all the Trump votes still count, but anybody who voted for Mickey Mouse, that vote's thrown out. And now we get to see who's their second choice. And if it's Biden, it goes to Biden. If it's Trump, it goes to Trump. Now, what if I'm assuming it's the same thing. If nobody gets 50%, now you again take the person who got the least votes, you throw him out. Anybody who had that person is the first, thank you, Brendan, as their first vote. Now you go to their second or their third choice. You'd have to see it in practice counted, but I get it now. It's very interesting. I mean, I'm not opposed. I've always thought it was an interesting idea. It's an interesting idea because exactly like, Trump could get, or not even Trump. I mean, any president could win with 43% of the vote in America when 57% of the people didn't want that person. What if 57% of the people actually prefer the other? It may not have been their first choice, but 57% it was their first or second choice, right? That gets interesting. Anyway, it's very interesting. Huh. Okay. Yeah, very confusing. Missouri made it illegal. That's funny. The parties do this in state primaries. That's interesting. Huh. Well, how could somebody win that the majority didn't want? Look at the American. I mean, Trump didn't get a majority, right? Trump didn't win the majority because you still have some votes going to third parties. You still have, like, you know, Jill Stein getting 1 or 2%, or Robert F. Kennedy getting 1 or 2% or something. Also, we had a third party candidate, Ross Perot, who got a lot. That was the one where maybe Clinton won. Did Clinton win with 43% or something? I'm trying to remember what the Alexa, what percentage did Bill Clinton get in the election of 1992? It was 42 or 43%, I think it just said. Yeah. Yeah. So the majority didn't want Clinton, but is that true? Right? Because maybe the majority, Clinton was their second choice, first and second, and Bush was third. Right? So it's hard to say. Certainly the Electoral College is ridiculous. Our system in this country is absolutely ridiculous. Hillary Clinton won the majority of votes. She lost. Al Gore won the majority of votes. He lost. Our system is stupid. It's based on land, and it's a most ridiculous thing ever. And people my favorite is that basically our system, people who live in states that are small, population, say, and I love this, it's not fair. My state doesn't have any people. If you simply take the majority, right? If the majority gets to pick who wins, then my state will never be able to pick who wins because there's nobody in my state. If there's nobody in your state, then maybe you shouldn't be able to pick who wins the presidential election because that's the whole thing. You have to vote, right? That's how we pick the leader. You vote. And if you don't have voters in your state, then yes, you will not have much influence in the presidential election. But literally they argue that. They go, my state is small and we don't have a lot of voters. It's not fair to us. Well, the problem is there isn't much us there, right? You're not really there isn't much us. Why should people from Wyoming get a disparate? There's only 500,000 of you. I'm sorry. That's nice. You're nice people. It's a pretty state, but you don't get as much influence if there's only 500,000 of you. Why should there be? We're a country of 330 million people, or whatever Wyoming is. I say 500,000. Maybe they're up to 750 now. I don't know. But you get the idea. So yes, our voting system is crazy. Absolutely crazy. Yeah. Yeah. Can it be changed? Nope. I believe it's in the Constitution. Pretty sure it's in the Constitution. Good luck changing that. Yeah. Republicans won't. Well, Republicans won't let it get changed because it helps them. Again, twice in the last 20 years, Republicans won the election when they had a minority. When Democrats had 50% of the vote, or not even 50%. Democrats had the majority. Well, I shouldn't say that. Democrats won. Democrats had more votes. Because I don't remember if it's majority. Democrats had more votes and they lost because our system is so screwed up. Republicans do not want to give up that opportunity. So, yep. But it is in the Constitution. That's what I thought, Robert. Yep. And very hard to change it. Yeah, it goes back to slavery and all sorts of weird, compromise with slavery and all sorts of crap. It's a screwed up system. It should just be majority. It should just be the majority. When it comes down to it, at least for electing leaders, if you're not in the majority, you don't get to pick who the leader is. That's just like the way it works. Sorry, but you just don't get to pick the leader if you're not in the majority. That's the way democracies work. We protect your rights. We protect your civil rights, things like that. But majority does rule in terms of picking leaders. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, it's very complicated. Sort of how it all came about. So. I could ask ChatGPT. Well, some of you can tell me if it gets it right. Tell me in one paragraph why we have an electoral college, explaining slavery and all of that, but don't make it long. It's worth a try. Just because I'm afraid it's going to give me like 10 pages. Here we go. Oh, it gave me a paragraph. Some of you who know your history, tell me if this is right, okay? The Electoral College was created as a compromise during the U.S. Constitutional Convention, partly to balance power between populous and less populous states, but it was also deeply tied to slavery. Southern states wanted their large enslaved populations to count towards political representation, even though slaves couldn't vote. The result was the 3/5 Compromise, which inflated Southern influence in both Congress and the Electoral College by letting states count 3/5 of their slaves as voters. This system helped protect slaveholding interests while appearing to uphold democracy. That doesn't explain the Electoral College, though, the 3/5 Compromise. That doesn't explain the Electoral College. That doesn't explain the Electoral College, though. Okay, you explained the 3/5 Compromise. You didn't explain the Electoral College. Explain how the Electoral College, giving a small state 3 electoral votes, for example, where did that come from? Was that tied to slavery too? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's explaining the 3/5 Compromise, but it's not explaining where the Electoral College came about and why, like, a small state gets 3 votes, for example. The Electoral College was designed to balance power. Yes, the Electoral College was designed to balance power between large and small states and between the North and the South. Each state gets electors equal to its number of senators, 2, plus representatives based on population. This means every state gets at least 3 electoral votes. Even tiny ones like Wyoming or Delaware, because they have 1 representative and 2 senators, get 3 electoral votes. That Senate bonus gives small states disproportionate power in presidential elections. Now, slavery was a major reason this system matters. The number of House seats and thus electors was based on population, but the South had lots of enslaved people who couldn't vote. The 3/5 Compromise allowed states to count 3/5 of their slaves for representation in the House, boosting their electoral vote totals. So while the small state bias came from giving all states equal Senate power, the inflated Southern power in the Electoral College came from counting slaves. Okay. Okay, still a little confusing to me. I'm sorry, it's still a little confusing to me. Yeah, it's still confusing me because, like, if you're counting slaves as people, then you're counting population. So that's not a disproportionate impact, right? It's not unfair to count a population. So that doesn't quite make sense. Certainly the Senate thing, yes, that's unfair. Giving everybody 2 votes, that's unfair. Because even small states have 3 electoral votes. That's stupid. Also, which this doesn't get into, part of the problem is most of the states have winner take all. So let's say, for example, I'm forgetting how many electoral votes. Let's say, we always ask this and people don't know. California has how many electoral votes? Is it like 55 or something? What's California got? Alexa, how many electoral votes does California have? Alexa, how many electoral votes does California have? It's not 13. 54. 54. Zach got it right. I was close. 55, 54. So the way it works is you have the presidential election in California. The person who, and okay, let me step back because even for Americans, this is confusing, but for foreigners, it's probably even worse. To win the presidential election, you need 270 electoral votes, 270 points. Let's just look at it that way. And you get points based on the number of states you win. Each state has a different number of points allotted to it. Wandering Chill, let me get to you in a second. Thank you for ridiculously. Wandering Chill just gave a really ridiculously generous gift on YouTube. Thank you for that. Let me finish explain electoral votes, if I may, even though you're being crazy generous. So you have to get 270 points to become president. You get these points by collecting states. Each state has an election for president. It's not national, right? It's state by state. Each state has an election. You vote. The majority in most states, the majority of the, actually, let me rephrase this. In most states, the person with the most votes gets all the electoral votes in the state. Okay? So it's not proportional. If you get 50.1% of the votes, and I get 49.9% of the votes, you get all of California's 54 electoral votes. We don't split them. That also ends up being incredibly unfair. because exactly that, like in a state like California, any state, if we literally split and you win by one vote, it's winner take all. You get all of it. Nebraska does not work that way. And I believe Maine also has something a little bit different as well. Maine is a little different. Those are the two states. But almost every other state, it's winner take all. Well, that means the election can be very close, right? But all of a sudden, or in Hillary's case, she actually had more votes. But because of the way this works, Trump won. Honestly, it's a stupid way of doing it. The electoral votes is just stupid. It shouldn't be state by state anyway. It should just be, you get the most, you win, right? Wandering Chill had to take a week off of all the news. I don't blame you, to focus on the specific news that screwed my daily life and career up last month. Sorry. I'm back and feel so behind. BS every day. Thank you for all the time, work, and insight you put into giving us accurate info. Thank you. That was very sweet. I mean, I always feel, well, I appreciate the gifts because I need them, but I also feel kind of bad when people buy big gifts like that. That was very sweet of you. Thank you. By the way, anyways, yeah, you should. Oh, whatever. Oh, no, you are a subscriber. I was going to say, we got the weekend thing. Yeah. It didn't look like you were a subscriber by the color in your thing, but then I see below you are. Yeah. So thank you for that too. All right. Yeah, we have a screwed up system for electing presidents. Sadly, it's very screwed up. So, but good luck changing it because it's in the Constitution. So, and the problem is you start changing the Constitution and then they change other things in the Constitution, right? Do you have any say in who the next Democratic runner is? I mean, we have a primary. Depends what you mean. We have an election in the Democrat, or each party has its own election and they pick who's going to be the next person. But even that is kind of weird. Like they did, I'm trying to think, last time around, they had South Carolina go first. I believe it was to help Biden because Biden had really good black support, or 2020, I should say. 2020, I'm sorry. Wait. I'm trying to remember. Yes, 2020. I think 2020, I believe they had South Carolina go first, or one of the first ones, because the Democratic voters in that state are overwhelmingly black and they knew they were going to support Biden. So you can kind of play games with who goes first. That's another problem. We don't vote in all the states on the same day in the primaries. So the primaries are how we pick our candidates who are going to win. And you do the votes over a period of like 4 or 5 months. And it's stupid. It's absolutely stupid because what happens is the states that wait till the end don't matter. And the states that go first have disproportionate impact. So like literally somebody wins 2 or 3 states and oh my God, they're in the lead. And people who don't win in 2 or 3 states have to drop out. And it's like, they didn't win in 2 or 3 states. That doesn't mean anything. We've got 50 states. But we should be having the primary election should be every day simultaneously. It's stupid. So that's a whole other crazy thing we do. There may be a woman president someday in America, but clearly we're behind on that topic, sadly. So yes, very much so. It doesn't let me. Oh, it does let me do that. Oh, there it is. I was going to say it didn't let me. It never let me like. It let me liked Wandering Chill's gift. It never let me like comments before, or gifts. But now it. I don't think it ever did let me be. Maybe I never knew I could. Anyway. There is no comment. Your resident says, check my comment. You have no comment for me to check, actually. Anyway. Kamala Harris could have possibly won if Biden had dropped out. Look, Biden said he wasn't going to run again. He was going to run one term. He was too old. And he was going to run. And he decided to run again. It caused a huge scandal. It would have been much less of a scandal had Biden said he wasn't going to run. There still would have had inflation and that kind of stuff that would have pissed people off. But, I think it probably would have helped whichever Democratic in retrospect, it probably would have helped whichever Democratic candidate having a primary. Primaries suck because they also get kind of like big fights and stuff. But still, Yeah, the comment must have been filtered, your residence. There's we've got a filter, but also YouTube has a filter as well. Um, Basically, when people spam and stuff, we put words in the filter, but sometimes it means not spam comments get hidden by accident. Well, they need to explain inflation better, but it's hard, well, they should have blamed inflation on Donald Trump is what they should have done. And Democrats are stupid. So, right from the beginning, Democrats should have talked about COVID. They should have talked about the economy, what Trump did with COVID, how that impacted the economy, how that meant inflation was going to be a problem, supply chain shortages because of COVID. You blame it all on Trump and you say, yes, we are at risk of inflation because of what Donald Trump did. And then when inflation happens, after you spent every day for a year or two talking about how Donald Trump was going to risk causing inflation, and then inflation happens, people go, you know what? You had told us this Trump thing was going to cause inflation, and it did, right? Instead, Democrats do what Democrats do, which is when a new president wins, you don't blame the old president, you move on. So Biden won, and he didn't blame. Remember, he didn't even mention Trump by name because that's the nice way to do. Well, guess what? The nice guy just got us a fascist government, or wannabe fascist government. So okie dokie. Anyway, I mean, I don't know who's viable in 2028. I mean, we all know who the people are that are being talked about right now. I don't know who's viable among them. Honestly, I kind of feel like a fat old white guy would probably work best. Like kind of an overweight white guy in his 60s would probably not be a bad idea at this point if you're trying to beat Trump or at least I should say Trumpers, but who knows? The American public seems to like that. I think, unfortunately, they seem to like that, But I've always said, I think although Obama won, Obama was not an old fat white guy, right? He won. I mean, you can win, but the voice is hanging in there. I'm trying to talk less soft or less loudly today, Alec. Thank you for asking. But yeah, the voice was being a little tremolo-ish, but I've been trying to talk more softly. So, Illinois governor? Yeah, I don't think so. Pritzker? I don't think I don't know. Oh, I see what you mean. Because you mean he's like big white guy. Yeah, I think they want like white-haired 60s businessmen. I've always thought part of the bias is someone who looks like a corporate executive, right? Someone who looks like, again, cigar smoking corporate board of directors guy. I just think that's who the American people like. I really do. Voice is just, I strained it this weekend. I think we were watching the Eurovision contest and I was live for like 4 hours. And I think that was a little too long for my voice. So we might even, we'll see. Tomorrow, I think intentionally we might do the show a little shorter too the next few days, which I probably should have done anyway. We should probably do an hour and then call it quits just to be safe because it still is like it's raspy again and I've got to give it time to heal. Otherwise I'll have to take a couple of days off, which I'd rather not do. But I will, I think what we'll do at least is keep the show to an hour tomorrow to be safe. Golden Dome, Trump is getting all this money for Golden Dome. And from what I understand, I'm assuming this is akin to Israel's thing to shoot down missiles coming into the country. I'm assuming, but I've never actually seen a good definition of what Golden Dome is. ASMR, John, exactly. Talking with my voice softly like this. Well, that's what these mics are for, though. These mics are for talking very softly. And I mean, you don't have to talk softly, but you can. I don't know how it sounds, but I'm guessing it's loud enough because this mic is intended to be very good microphone. And typically when you talk softer and close to the microphone, I've shown you guys this before, it makes your voice usually lower and kind of deeper and much more like if I'm talking like this, it picks it up, but it's not nearly as sort of, I don't know. I think it sometimes sounds nicer when you're talking very close to the mic, except that I don't want to talk to the mic like this. Yeah, sensitive and alluring. Exactly. Today in Middle Eastern news. I'm going to give you all the worst news in the world, but we're going to do it like it's going to give you tingles. Or creepy, as Catherine said. All right, let's see. Definition of Golden Dome from CBS. Trump's missile project called Golden Dome for America aims to protect the U.S. from foreign threats. Golden Dome is a multi-layered defense system that the president, speaking in the Oval Office, blah, 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 will be capable of intercepting missiles. This is Star Wars. Even if they're launched from the other side of the world, this is Star Wars. If they're launched from space, the concept includes both ground and space-based capabilities. This is Star Wars. I know. I was thinking of that too, Rooney. I don't want to ruin my voice. I've got to be careful with that, because if it keeps being raspy, I'm gonna hurt it. Yeah. This is stupid. The concept includes both ground and base-based space capabilities that would defend against missiles by detecting and destroying them ahead of launch, intercepting them in flight, halting them mid-course. This is Star Wars. Okay. Is there anything about this? No, when I say Star Wars, I don't mean Luke Skywalker. I mean, this is what Reagan proposed that ended up not working. Well, I am doing more water. I'm not happy about it, Beth, but today I poured out the 8 cups of water I was supposed to have, and I was like, oh my God, it's that much water. I'm not doing 8 today, but I am doing today. I think I'm doing a good 6 if I'm lucky. So reminding me to do a little bit more. This is stupid. This is Reagan's Star Wars program that didn't work. This seems very stupid. This seems very, SDI didn't work. Reagan's Strategic Defense Initiative. I mean, I kind of liked the idea. I don't object to the idea of, well, here's the thing. Oh, hey, Alyssa, you're a speech therapist. I don't object to the idea in principle of, wouldn't it be nice to shoot down nuclear weapons before they land and blow us up? The problem is a couple things. That kind of a system first, it doesn't work. We found during SDI, it just didn't work. Secondly, it can be destabilizing. Doesn't mean it is, but it can be. Meaning, if the Russians think we're about to develop a system that can stop all of their nuclear weapons from coming, like shoot them in the atmosphere and blow them up, the Russians might think, you know what? If America knows they can stop all of our nuclear weapons from coming, maybe America would launch their nuclear weapons because they wouldn't worry about Russia responding, right? So America could launch their weapons at Russia, knowing that the Russians couldn't hit America back because we would have Golden Dome or whatever to stop the Russian missiles. So maybe if you're Russian or Chinese and you know the Americans are like months away from implementing their Golden Dome, it's almost ready. Maybe you attack America first before they get the system in place, because your fear is that America is going to attack you. That's why some people did not like what Reagan was doing, because the concern was it was potentially highly destabilizing. I think that's a good argument. I also will say it's certainly tempting, right? The idea that you could have a system that could stop nuclear weapons from coming from space, right? I mean, that's so like it's Trump. So, calling it golden is really weird again for a guy. He's got his fixation with gold. That's just kind of creepy. But my bigger concern is is this Strategic Defense Initiative all over again, where we're investigating something that doesn't work? That's sort of my concern. So anyway. Oh, the word was chump. It's not the mods. Oh, was it the mods or maybe it was the mods? Oh, I don't know. It's working now. Okay. No idea. Well, we get a lot of crazy people, residents. So forgive the mods, but we get YouTube, not as many, but TikTok, love TikTok, but we get a lot of bad people who come in and spam, so that the mods have to kind of jump on stuff. So sorry if that's what happened. All right. Yeah, Jacob, we talked about that earlier. It caused a big fight. I'm going to go because it's already 7:30 and I've been talking for an hour and a half. I think tomorrow we're going to do an hour-long show just to be careful because of my voice. I don't want to strain it anymore. I am going to try to talk softly like I'm doing now, but also we're going to do an hour because otherwise it's too much. Saturday, maybe we'll do a shorter time on Saturday too, just to be safe, like a half hour or something. And then Sunday I'm free anyway. And then we'll see. Worst comes to worst, we'll have to do what we did that one time that first year when I had to take a couple of days off just to let my voice rest a little bit. So Let's see. We shall see. All right, guys. Have a good night. Thank you all. I may have to put a piece of paper up too that says like whisper. So at least when I'm doing this, I can keep my voice low and people can say, what's up with your voice? But at the same time, you can hear me because the microphone's good. Or I can adjust. Hold on. I can adjust the volume and then it gets really loud. So that's a possibility too. So, all right, guys, have a good evening. Thank you so much. I will see you all tomorrow, 6:00 Eastern time, US tomorrow. And, oh, chump, you're asking what the word chump literally meant? Oh, funny. Google it. It's kind of hard to explain. I didn't know that's what you were asking. A chump is somebody who's a patsy. That doesn't help you. Somebody who is taken advantage of, who's easily taken advantage of. So like a swindler, a card shark, somebody who, well, a mark. The problem is if you're a foreigner, we're using other words you wouldn't know. But it's somebody who is easily taken advantage of, usually by a swindler, usually by a cheat. Oh, you're Swedish. There, see, I was going to say, I thought they weren't American. Like by a con artist. A con artist takes advantage of somebody who's a chump. But as I said, it's an interesting word because it's also kind of a regular guy word in American English. Google it, you'll see. It's a good word. It's a good word. But in any case, all right, guys. Let's talk to you tomorrow. Otherwise, I'll see you on Saturday, tomorrow, 6:00 Eastern. All right. All right. See y'all. Have a good evening. Burp. Someone who gets walked on. Yeah. It's a great word. It's a really good word. All right. YouTube or TikTok, Discord, hanging up on you first. Oh, it's just Amanda. Hey, Amanda. All right, see ya. All right. Oops. There we go. YouTube, you're next. All right, YouTube, bye-bye. And then TikTok. Thanks, TikTok. See you.